Hello fellow makeup lovers, how are you guys doing today? We are going to be chatting about my collaboration with Adept Cosmetics, which still feels so unreal to be able to share on camera with y'all. If this is your first time seeing them, I do have a full reveal video, but I wanted to create my perfect cool toned palette. I feel like the camera doesn't even do it justice. It is so beautiful. And then I also created a blush palette for just like that perfect pink flush. This is truly for the pink blush lovers. So in my reveal video, I did swatches. I talked about why I created different things. I talked about the shade names, all the information I thought you'd want to know, but I figured you guys would have questions. So I asked on Instagram and on YouTube community tab, let me know your questions and I will answer them. I have them all on my phone here, and I just figured I'd do my makeup and share with you a little bit more about this process and just answering what you want to know. Okay, let me start applying some things because I am completely barefaced right now. But what really made me laugh is that one of the #1 questions that I got was, how long did this collab take? How long have we been working on it? And I thought that was funny because when I was filming my reveal video, I wanted to be like, I've been working on this for so long, yada, yada, yada. And I'm like, I feel like it's what everyone says in their reveal videos. Like, it's been such a long time. I decided to not talk about that. And I guess you guys really did actually want to know. So this has been going on since December of 2022. It's just a long process. And I think that I may have been a little bit picky, but I don't mean that in a negative way. Like, I mean, I think it's the best thing you could possibly do. Like, we got like what was supposed to be our final sample back, and I was like, I feel like this silver is a little off from the one that I approved, so we're gonna have to wait a little longer kind of vibes. So what is that, like a year and a half in the works? It felt like so long. Okay, so another question that I got a lot was about the color story of my eyeshadow palette. So I've got some questions like, did you already know what you wanted when you agreed to the collab? Why did you do cool tones? How long did it actually take for you to decide on a color story? And I knew the moment like that we started talking about the palette exactly what I wanted to do. But it's because I had a genuine need that I wanted to take care of. I wanted to create the perfect cool tone palette that I felt like was missing in the industry. And I feel like I have purchased so many cool tone palettes and they have never lived up to what I wanted them to be. So it was very easy. It was very natural. Those are the shades I wear every single day. I wanted it to be cool without being gray, and gray tones without being ashy. And I wanted it to be neutral, but still fun. And like that just perfect in between, which honestly, I think helps me a lot because I feel like I always had a North Star of exactly what I wanted. And even now, like seeing people say like, oh, I don't like this, or I wish you'd done that, or, you know, any like constructive criticism. I get it. We all have our own personal preferences, but this is exactly what I wanted it to be. And I've gotten a few comments like, why did you do so many neutral shades that look the same? And I think maybe if you don't understand the heart of the palette and the heart of like wanting that perfect cool tone neutral palette, then maybe they're too similar to you. But for me, I felt like I wanted those little variations. I wanted to have multiple cool tone neutral options that worked with everything and that were just like the baseline of the palette. I'm talking so much already. I'm taking a really long time to even really start with my makeup. All I've done is primer and a little bit of glow. And if you see them swatched out, they are not the same. Like, I can promise you that they're not. But I can see how in some photos they do look a little bit similar. And if you are not into cool tone neutrals, then maybe they're too similar for you. But that's the color story that I wanted. Obviously, I could have gone more purple or more bright, or, you know, included more browns, yada, yada. But that was not the heart of it, you know? That was not the vision. So I'm happy with how it turned out. And I also got some questions about how Adept Cosmetics is not known for having a bunch of mattes. Some of their palettes don't even have mattes. Was I told that I was only allowed to have a certain amount of mattes? Anything like that. But the thing about the owner of Adept Cosmetics, Sandra, she is the most like, you do what you want to do, what makes your heart happy. I'm just here to support you type of collaboration. Truly, whatever I wanted to do, I could. She did let me know that in general, her customers prefer shimmers. They prefer palettes that have less mattes. When she has more mattes, they don't do as well. So I obviously kept that in mind. I felt like I wanted to make you guys happy, my audience happy, but I also wanted to make the Adept customers happy as well and find that perfect balance. I felt like 5 out of 15 mattes was a good in between. A third of the palette is mattes, 2/3 shimmers. Like I feel like that's fair. And I also made the decision not to include super light mattes, which I've also gotten questions about, like what would the transition be? I didn't want to have like super light ashy gray mattes, even though I like them, even though they work on my skin tone. I feel like I've seen so many reviews of people who have medium tan, deep skin tones talk about different cool tone eyeshadow palettes, and then when they're getting to these like really light grays, it's like this shade is just gonna sit there. Like I'm never gonna reach for it. It's not gonna show up. If it shows up, it looks ashy. Like it's not really serving a purpose for everyone. So I made the executive decision that I wanted to not have super light grays. And in my head, I don't know, maybe you guys wouldn't be happy with this answer. I was like, if you're very fair, you can go in with like a little bit of your setting powder, whatever face powder you have. If the shade Mocha is not light enough. But the thing is that the Adept matte formula is very buildable and they come across lighter on the eyes than they look in the pan. So like this, like maybe it looks like a really dark gray, but it does tone down a little bit on the eyes and then you can build it up if you need to, which I do have a multiple look video coming very soon so you can see everything in action. But that is one thing where I was like, you know, I don't want to waste up one of my matte shades for something that everyone can't use. This was a cute question. They said, when the Natasha Denona Xenon palette came out, were you nervous releasing a cool tone palette since it got so much hate? I love how your collab has more color options. So happy for you. Thank you so much. So here's the thing, is every single palette that has come out that has been, you know, teased as being cool toned, I have been nervous about, especially because I had my color story set from pretty early on. So I was like, the worst thing that could happen is that someone releases a color story that's super similar to mine. And with the Natasha Denona Xenon palette, I at first was like, oh my gosh, like what is this gonna be? Like, how much is it gonna compare to my palette? Like, I was very nervous. And then when I saw it, I was like, no, I'm good. I didn't really feel bothered by the amount of hate that it got, or like think like, oh, are people gonna hate mine? Because I felt like they were so different. And I felt like the Xenon palette, even though I love it, like it's a great cool tone palette. I think that was like my number 2 or 3 palette of last year. It was grayscale and that's not what I wanted. So I knew that my palette would still stand out against that. And then let's see, other palettes that made me nervous. So I have seen some comparisons saying like if you have Ensley Reign Cold Moon or Cool Moon, that you already have my palette. And I might be biased, but I don't think that they look anything alike. Like, yeah, there's some similarities, there's some silvers, there's some cool tones, but there's so many browns and like rosy tones. I just feel like it's not the same at all in my personal opinion. But when I saw that sneak peek, I was kind of like, ooh, what's it gonna be? Oh, and recently for the Creators and Friends event, when I walked into the Sigma dinner party and I saw that there was like, you know, the palette in its beautiful box and it said Sigma Cool Neutrals, I was like, okay, let's see what it looks like. But it doesn't look anything like my palette. It's not that cool toned of a palette. And then actually, even when I saw the Blend Bunny and Ellis sneak peeks, they were like black and like the silver packaging, and I was like, what's it gonna be? But then it was a rainbow palette. Packaging didn't necessarily reflect the inside, which again was a relief for me. I just really wanted to create something unique. I wanted to fill a need. So I was like, please don't let anyone fill the need before me. Okay, next we have a question that says, is this the largest collab palette Adept has done? Did you pick the palette size or did Adept pick it? And this one was kind of funny too, because originally I had planned out a 12 pan color story, or was it 12 or 10? It was the same size as the Heather Austin palette, which that was their very first collab. I'm only their second, so not too many collabs to compare to here, but I originally had a smaller palette planned out, and when she sent the first round of samples, she sent a palette with extra colors that were all in my color story, and it was 15 shades. It was this size, and when I saw it, I was like, that's actually really nice, and it gives me the option to create a few more shades. And that's kind of when more of the fun shades got included, because originally it was more neutral. With those 5 more shades, I was like, okay, let's have a little bit more color. I also have a question here that says, logistical question. I noticed it's a tiny bit cheaper to buy the bundle rather than use your code for the items individually. Do you get the same amount either way, or do you get more with the code? Def want to support you and your channel. Thank you so much. This is such a sweet question to ask. I would not worry about it either way, whether you're purchasing individual items or the bundle. I will still be making my fair share, but for the affiliate codes, we did decide to still have affiliate codes, and it's nice because like if someone, you know, spends their time and they work and they do reviews or looks or whatever, they can still make a commission and still be paid for their time, which I think is awesome. Definitely want to support my fellow creators. So yes, if you use my code, I do make my normal affiliate commission. It counts for anything on the website. It's just AMYLOVES, and it'll take you 10% off the eyeshadow palette and 10% off the blush palette. But for the bundle, that's already discounted. That's as low as it goes. But thank you so much for asking that. So we have a question here that says, what was the easiest and the hardest part of the process for you? Anything you left on the cutting room floor that you were sad to leave behind? And no, I didn't really have anything left behind because like I said, originally, my original vision was a little bit smaller. We ended up making it bigger, so I got to expand versus cut. So yeah, nothing sad on the cutting board. The easiest part of the process for me was definitely choosing my eyeshadow palette color story. Like I said, it was effortless, honestly. It was exactly what I wanted. It was already a dream. If you told me right now, like, oh, like think of a part 2, do something like what color story next, that would be really, really hard because I don't have something specific in mind. Where with this, I was just like, I know exactly what I want to do. The hardest part, I would say, is, you know, acknowledging that I am just a makeup lover. I'm not a makeup artist, and I am very, very fair. So I definitely did quite a bit of research and watched different reviews on different products and colors and highlighters and blushes on a variety of skin tones, just trying to really round out the collection and make sure that there was something for everyone and not just, you know, what works best on me, because obviously, you know, my audience is not all super fair. I want you all to be able to purchase this and enjoy it. So I think that was probably the hardest / like the most pressure. And I think I was more nervous about like the blush palette than anything. Like the eyeshadow palette, I'm like, good, golden, it's exactly what I wanted. The blush palette, I was like, I really, really hope people like this. And, you know, I feel like I've said in the past, like I wouldn't buy a face palette if I can't use all the shades. So for me, it was really important to create a mix of shades that could be used in different ways, that could be layered, a really buildable formula. So even if you need like the smallest amount of pigment or the most amount of pigment, you can really get it to work for you either way. That was what stressed me out the most. So somebody asked if I could add one more item to the collection, what would it be? And I don't know 100%. I feel like I love the collection as it is. I wish that I had something with my dog Roxy's name on it, because I talked about this in the reveal. The blush palette has my 4 pets on there: Athena, Aries, Mishka, and Cupid, because we said like that was it, we're done. And then a stray dog ended up showing up in my mom's yard, and she was just sad, and her skin was sad, and she had obviously been abused. And we were like, oh, like you have a lot in your house already, like we'll take her, like we'll foster her and like take care of her, give her, you know, a good home, help her learn to trust, yada, yada, yada. Yeah, she's never leaving. She's our baby. She's literally the sweetest dog to ever exist. And now she deserves her name on something too, right? So that's my only regret. But how could I have known? I couldn't have. I also got quite a giggle out of the comment that I got on, I think it was on my YouTube video, saying, like, now I just need to have a part 2 and a foster, quote unquote, foster 3 more pets. It's like, I do not know that I can con my partner into that. I don't think I can. I think we're already convinced that we have a petting zoo. So excited. We're about to start getting into the collection. I'm just going to go ahead and prime my eyes. And I will say, definitely highly recommend priming your eyes with these eyeshadows. I did get a question of someone saying, gosh, where is it? They were saying that their eyeshadow tends to crease with Adept shimmers, and I could see how that would happen because the Adept shimmers are definitely more on the creamy emollient side. I always use a good eyeshadow primer, and then also for those more creamy shadows, if you do have trouble with creasing or, you know, it wearing away, I definitely recommend using some glitter primer. I use the NYX glitter primer, which is super affordable. I think this is like $4 or $5. Definitely recommend a good combo for anyone who has more oily lids. I have drier lids, so unless I'm going in with like a really sparkly shade, I don't always use the NYX glitter primer. Another question that I have gotten a few times, which I'm so sorry I did not answer this in the reveal video because that was just a rookie move. So I'm getting asked if this is a limited edition collection, and this is kind of like yes and no, because Adept is really great about keeping their palettes around for as long as there is demand. Think of the Heather Austin palette. It did really well and it was available for a hot minute. I believe she brought it back and it's still available right now. If I might need to double check that, but it did come back and it was available again. So there was plenty of opportunity for anyone who wanted it to get it. And the same will go for my collection. We have lots of palettes. Like I think we have lots of palettes. So hopefully everyone who wants one will be able to get one. And if by some miracle it sells out or anything like that, then we will definitely be restocking. If you want to get your hands on it, you will have a chance further than just the very first day for sure. So definitely no like run, get it now, you have to get it now vibes over here. Like there should be time. I cannot promise you an exact timeline. I can't say for how long. I can't give you specifics, but we're not here trying to pressure anyone into anything. And I believe that the PR is shipping out today, so hopefully you'll be able to see a little bit of content, some like beginning reviews before the launch actually goes live, in case you're, you know, obviously wanting to see from different people, from reviewers you love. I debated on whether to put the PR list in my description box, like for you to look out for, but I also didn't want anyone to feel pressure to post anything or for anyone to be like, hey, didn't you receive this? Like, where's the content? Like, there is no pressure. There's no obligation to post whatsoever. So I decided against posting the PR list, but I will definitely be reposting everything that gets put out there. I got some questions about which shade did I finalize first, which shade finalized last. I genuinely cannot remember which shade was the first shade that I was like, okay, perfect. But I can say that Pisces was the shade that took the longest and that I went back and forth on, and that I believe I had the most samples of, and I ended up naming it Pisces because that's the one where I was like, I don't know, like it's a little bit different. I feel like some swatch videos, it looks kind of like a grungy, like bronzy shade, but I'm telling you in person, this is like pure purple periwinkle base and a green gold shift. It's just very unique and like different for everything else that's in the palette. So that's the one that I went back and forth on, like, is that perfect? Is it exactly what I want? Should I do something, you know, that like flows more? But then I was like, no, like, let's just be a little spicy with it. So I kept it, and it was a tough decision. I'm gonna start applying something, even though I don't even know what look I wanna do today. Should we do something with lavender? I feel like you guys are probably dying to see lavender because it's so good. Okay. Maybe let's go with 1997 because to me, that is just like the most perfect cool tone neutral brown. So I'm just picking up a little bit of that, and my favorite thing to do is to apply it into the outer V, and then whatever's left over, I'll bring towards the crease. Which personally I feel like makes these mattes like very one and done type of looks. You can just throw any matte on like this, throw on a shimmer, and call it a day, which is my style for sure. I love a good simple moment. Just building up a little bit more right here, but blends so easy. So I also have a question here that says, why are there no lippies in your collection? And honestly, I don't know. I don't think that Adept has ever done lippies. It's just not something that was really on my mind. And honestly, originally it was just the eyeshadow palette. The blush palette came on maybe like 6 or 7 months into the project, I would say. Like the eyeshadow palette was already doing its thing and the blush palette was an afterthought, but an afterthought that like as soon as I started thinking about it, I was like, wait, this is perfect because I'm obsessed with pink blush. I love a good glowy cheek and I just feel like I hadn't really seen a blush palette quite like that. And I also get questions all the time about, oh, you're wearing this on the eyes, like what would you wear for the cheeks? How do you pair things together? So I feel like having a coordinating blush palette that really goes with every single thing in the eyeshadow palette just kind of makes choosing even easier for you if you're not, you know, that creative and you just want your options laid out for you. I feel like the blush palette is really, really great at that. I hope you guys can see, just adding a little bit more, just how buildable this is. Just such an easy matte to work with. They're definitely my favorite mattes from Adept yet. I'm also just smudging 1997 along the lower lash line. And then, you know what? Let's go into a little bit of the shade Stunning for the lower lash line as well. I'm just gonna pop that on right here, just for a little pop of silver. I'm gonna go into Lights Up for my inner corner. Add a little highlight real quick. And then let's go into the shade Lavender, which is literally so beautiful. Like, come on. I almost feel like lavender is silver with a rainbow through it. Like, it's just the most beautiful shade. And I actually feel like it worked out that I only have one multi-chrome in here because recently I did a video on, gosh, what was it? It was like your unpopular opinions or something. And a lot of y'all were saying you were over just like these overpriced palettes that had a million multi-chromes in it. You'd rather have like one or two special shadows, which kind of just like made me feel really happy because it's like I've got my multi-chrome, I've got my holographic shadow, and then we've got some more traditional shimmers and duochromes, and the price wasn't like super high because there are definitely more expensive palettes from Adept. So I was like, yay, I think I got that right. We just have one super special shadow right smack dab in the center. I obviously applied it with my finger as best as I can, but because I have nails right now, I am gonna go in with my brush and just apply a little bit more right here. And then I'm just gonna go into just a touch of the deepest shade Scrunchie on a liner brush and just add a little definition to the lash line. I also got a question about what is my favorite shade in the palette, and honestly it's really hard, but I think maybe the shade Pink, just because that is my most used shade. Let me show you my most recent sample palette. Pink is just that girl. Gonna go into the Blend Bunny Omni Lash Mascara. Let's apply some blush. So here she is. I think today, maybe let's go all out, do a pretty blushing look. So I'm gonna start off with the shade Cupid, which is that like watermelon pink. Just gonna grab a touch and kind of dust off the excess. And I'm using that more towards the back of my cheekbones. It's definitely a very vibrant pink on my skin tone. I use it very lightly, but I still love it, love it, love it. So there's Cupid by itself. Like I said, I'm using a little bit more, almost like a contour right there, just buffing it in. And then on top of that, I'm gonna go into the baby pink Mishka, which I can be a little bit more liberal with. Just gonna kind of put that more towards the front of my cheeks. And then I'm just gonna grab a touch of Athena on a highlighter brush and just pop that on the very tops of the cheekbones. So cute. And on the nose too, of course. Pretty much everywhere. Obsessed. Okay, one last question. Why choose Adept to collaborate with? What allowed you to get over your fear of collaborating again? I was comfortable with Adept for a few reasons. One, I feel like it did make sense because I have been using their products for the longest time. I used their very first eyeshadow palettes. Even before Plain Jane, they had two different like 8 baked like little eyeshadow palettes. I didn't like them, but I did use them. I had them. I have like their oldest face palettes that they used to do that they don't have anymore. And I've pretty much talked about every single release they've ever done. I've been a really big fan of their eyeshadows, and I don't know, it felt right. And I also felt like what I wanted, that cool tone neutral palette, made sense in their line because it was something that they were missing. And I feel like they have come out with like a really great neutral warm palette with flying fiddles, and they have so many different cool colorful palettes, but I felt like what I wanted added. And I feel like sometimes you see collaborations and you're kind of like, oh, it's like doing what's already been done. And I didn't feel like it would be like that with Adept. And I also felt comfortable collaborating with them because they have had a really successful collaboration. I'm not even talking about financially. I'm saying like it went smooth, and I was able to talk to Heather Austin. She was the first person that knew about my collaboration because before anything happened, before anything was signed, I got to talk to her and ask her like, what was it like? How did this go, that go? And she just gave me an honest experience, and it was all extremely positive, which made me feel like safe and secure and like I could trust putting my name on the brand. Okay, we're just gonna finish off with the Gissu Watermelon Sugar. I cannot get over how good this smells. It's literally amazing. Okay, y'all, so there's the finished look. I really hope that I was able to answer all of your questions. If there's anything that I missed or you're just dying to know, feel free to comment down below and I'll do my best to get back to you. Like I said, this collection does launch May 1st at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and they do have the AMYLOVES collection page up on their website now, so you can sign up to be notified for when it goes live and everything. That is this video. I don't know why, I just feel like so giddy and awkward all of a sudden. I'm like, I just want to keep talking about it forever, which I'm sure I will continue to do for a very, very, very long time. If there's any other specific content that you'd like to see me do, let me know. I will have a multiple looks video going up very soon. That's what's coming next. And then also a birthday chatty get ready with me because my birthday is on Friday. It's just been the best week. I really, really hope that you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you again very soon. Bye.